Colin had a problem and a microphone to spare. Thomas took it up and so the podcast went to air. For weeks and months they trolled through every single DVD. They've unwrapped all the ones they can and now they're cellulose free. Now they're cellulose free.
Hello dear listener and welcome to Cellulose Free. My name is Colin and with me as always is my fellow film watcher, compadre and son Thomas.
Hi, hello.
Boy, are we in for a jam-packed episode today. I thought I'd try something new.
And I'm not sure how jam-packed it will actually be.
Well, I guess a gauge of that is determined by what you've been up to this week.
I nicked myself on the farm earlier today.
How did you do that?
I might have nicked it on myself.
You should not pick your nose with your thumb.
I'm not sure how it happened. I was opening a muesli bar and
And you didn't find it amusing?
No, I suppose not. Baseball went. Nothing else is happening in my life. Baseball, winning is losing now.
Good.
And the reader and the coin are still feuding over the fate of the league.
Good.
And that might actually be it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I have spent all of today scanning back covers of DVDs that are missing back covers in the My Movies database. And have already got an upset letter from My Movies database because I clipped one of them slightly. It was a different size to the front cover, and they don't like that.
Right.
But it was close enough that they trimmed it a little bit, so... Oh, well. I'm so used to scanning both covers, and this was one of the early ones that I did, and from there on in I just replaced what was already there with a new front cover, back cover, so that it matched. It did give me a warning on, like, the fifth one that I did, that I cropped slightly after I noticed that a little bit, the lid was showing. I hadn't trimmed it quite as careful as I should have, but and that automatically gave me a warning that, hey, that's now a different size to the front cover. So
right.
But of course I'd forgotten that I'd trimmed another one, so we'll see what happens. The great state of Denmark is just waking up and starting their morning chores and found all of these covers that I've scanned, and they said, thank you very much for your efforts. So it's been a productive day, I guess. I've still got heaps to do. My other highlight of the week is that I now have an appointment in a week and a half to have my first COVID shot.
Right, because you are old enough to be in stage 2A, aren't you?
I am, or I am old enough to use up all of the vaccine that can't be used on anybody else. So they've now got huge stocks of it, and before this runs out, we might as well use it. So let's get all the oldies in to use it up so that we don't waste our money. Yes, so week and a half. Finally. What a schmozzle. Anyway, so that's about it for me. I don't think I can think of anything else that springs to mind. So we might get on with things.
Yeah.
We have a film to watch.
We do.
And it's a film that has never been on the shelf.
No.
So it's a bit of a random selection. I stumbled upon it whilst searching for a streaming version of the film that we watched last week, and thought, oh, I haven't seen that in years. and maybe it was a good thing that I haven't seen this in years. Today Will Tell. It's a film from, I was going to say my childhood, but not really. I was 22 when this came out.
Yeah.
I was still a young tacker, really. 22 is young. You're still a kid when you're 22. Aren't you? Really.
I am as old now as you were when it came out.
That's right. That's right. I certainly didn't go to the cinema to watch it, and my belief is that I watched it at like a get-together type things, that not a lot of real watching gets done, just more talking over things. So, yeah, it didn't make a great impact on me, but I thought, let's revisit it. What is it that we are watching today?
We are watching the 1990 film Toy Soldiers.
And what's it all about?
A group of rich kid rejects take on a band of terrorists who are holding them hostage to force the release of a South American drug lord.
Nice, succinct Stan streaming service synopsis.
It's got to fit in a certain space.
That's right. I think it's great. We know what we're in for. Or do we?
Yeah.
We shall find out. We're going to hit the play button and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Turn to side B.
Mangrale. No. That sounds South American, doesn't it?
I'm just softly shaking my head.
So what did you think?
It's okay. It's fine. I certainly just watched an almost 2-hour film.
You did. See, that's how films were in the 80s and early 90s. They didn't ramp it up until until we now get 3-hour long Marvel films.
Yeah, well, at least in those, I'm excited, and there are things happening that I care about.
Yeah, and there was a lot not happening in that film until it ramped up. It's a slow ramp. Yeah. I confess that I enjoyed it a lot more than I was expecting. I was expecting very much the reaction that you just gave. So maybe I'm showing my age. Maybe the nostalgia has kicked in. And recognising characters from my youth. And
It's just not particularly special, and it's juvenile in places, and I've sort of grown out of that.
Oh.
And it's just fine.
It's just fine. It was just a fine film. But I was certainly far more entertained by it than apparently you were, and to my great surprise, I was really not expecting to be as entertained as I was.
I got more than I expected, and I wasn't expecting much.
Yeah.
But it still wasn't a lot.
Okay, I need your keyboard skills here. Can you tell me how old Sean Astin was when this was made?
Oh, that's where I know Sean Astin from. Okay.
It's Samwise.
Oh, right, yes, Samwise. More recently, Stranger Things.
Ah, yes. Yes.
He's played some more subdued characters in recent times.
Well, he's old, as you were about to determine.
About 1920 at the time.
19 or 20 at the time.
I'm thinking he was born in 1920.
Not the year 1920.
Wow. So, what year was he born?
71.
Okay. Wow. So Will Wheaton is 72.
From 72. He's not 72
No,
now.
He never has been 72, but he was born in 72. So there's only a year difference. So he was 18 when this came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm questioning your math here.
I said 19 or 20.
Okay. 1920s, that's right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I do apologise. All right.
20,
Okay.
possibly.
Yep.
Yes. 20 when it came out, certainly.
Yep. All right. It in a lot of ways has not aged well. One thing that I did find incredibly amusing was a whole bunch of guys standing around in next to nothing, looking very uncomfortable in the dormitory rooms where they're hatching their plots or plotting their hatches or whatever that's called, planning devious things. They seem to be constantly just standing around in their underwear. Sorry about the strange noises in the background. The deranged cat is chasing a mouse. Oh, he's got it. And he's let it go. Oh, he's got it again. He's let it go. And he's got it again. They obviously weren't comfortable standing around in that manner, and not surprisingly.
No.
So. And yet there were obviously some that worked out, and so they were angling so that their muscles were showing.
Mm-hmm.
It was in places uncomfortable to watch for them. I don't know why that sprang out at me. Speaking of students, it's interesting to look at the closing credits. There's a number of students listed as students, and one listed as a concerned student. So I don't know what level of concernedness he displayed to notch him up to get a separate listing. Oh, look, I did have... You are absolutely right. It is juvenile in places and awkwardly so, but I still possibly enjoyed it too much.
The film spends a long time listening to a sex line.
It does, yeah. And it was playing a part, but these days there would have been more of a montage of showing what these various characters were like, rather than a set piece that went on for so long, I think. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, it's on Stan, and if you're wanting some late 80s, early 90s nostalgia, run with it. There are certainly, of the era, better films out there.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a real soft spot for Stand By Me, which came out a number of years earlier.
86.
86, yeah, so 4 years earlier. Yes, it was interesting to see how Will Wheaton had developed over such a short period of time, and given gritty roles, and then given Wesley Crusher, and then given gritty roles again. Or at the same time, because he would have filmed this parallel to filming Star Trek as well. Do you have anything else you wish to say?
No, not really.
Hey, it was an adventure. It was a lucky dip. It's probably the luckiest dip that we've had so far.
For some value of luck.
Well, as far as randomness is concerned, you know, this was never planned to be in the rotation, and it happened, and I'm glad we did it. Just to see your reaction and your face.
This was certainly something we did just now.
It was. All right then. Well, without any further ado, let's move on then.
The following segment has no title. Thank you.
Right. Let's see.
There has been some conversation.
There has been. Helen's been to Launceston. And that's...
Helen, I hope you enjoyed Launceston.
Mm-hmm.
Tasmania has certain usages of memes, and if you imagine Simba and Simba's dad sitting on the rock looking out at all that they can see, except for that, yep. And all this will be yours, except that dark place. That's Launceston.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I hope Helen returns safely from Launceston. Why was that mentioned in the on the podcast page? Was there any particular...
Because it was long... The previous podcast was long enough for a stroll around a certain part of Launceston.
That is right. That is right. I hope she had a bodyguard with it. No, sorry. I love Launceston. It's a wonderful place. Honest. And if there's anybody listening from Launceston, I do apologise for any comments that I may have made to suggest otherwise.
And Jeff has found the use of the dubious word upsetment upsetting.
Look, I'm concerned of the amount of upsetment that this may have caused. I think I mentioned that on the Facebook page, and yet again, I do apologise for the upsetment that it has caused. Such upsetment was not intended, and I hope from this day forward, upsetment levels will be lessened substantially.
I am now also speechless.
I'm impressed that I managed to get that out. Anyway, anything else from our dear listener?
No. I think we have run out of dear listener who have said things.
All that
this
being
week.
said, it warms the cockles of my heart to know that we do have a dear listener or two that actually listens all the way through our podcast. So thank you, dear listener. All right then. Shall we move on then?
Pick a film for next week so we can go to bed.
Sure, as soon as I've picked the right category on my movies and not the Still Under Wraps category, which only has one thing in it.
I just realised. Have you just opened it?
I've done my synchronization.
You've done your synchronization.
I did that earlier.
I was meant to say, please synchronise before we start podcasting, because you'll have all those back covers now.
Yeah.
Speaking of podcasts, which we weren't, but I'm just looking at the length of time of this podcast, and we may have complaints from a dear listener saying that it isn't long enough for a walk. What is our shortest podcast in this season? In this iteration of the podcast?
I will be honest, I've not been keeping track of this podcast that well. So I'm going to have to go to the website at anchor.fm/cellulose.
Whilst he's doing that, I should mention that as I was twiddling my thumbs in front of the computer whilst it was scanning something, I've not been on our Anchor site for Still Under Wraps for a long time.
Right.
And some of those podcasts have had a number of listens too.
They have, yes.
I was sort of stunned at the numbers that it was spitting out.
I don't know how much rhyme or reason there is to which episodes have...
No, there's certainly, it waxes and wanes, and certain ones have been well and truly listened to, and others have not received quite as much love, but those numbers were up, and surprisingly so.
And I would say that the analytics for this podcast, Cellulose Free, are equally baffling in some ways.
I'm going to be intrigued to see how many listens this one gets. Because I reckon as far as Google searches for podcasts on toy soldiers is just going to draw in the crowds. I really do. I seriously do. I think this is going to be one of our most listened to podcasts.
Our previous, if it is indeed our previous shortest episode in this podcast, was Hunt for the Wilder People at 21:16.
Oh, look, we're romping home now. Yeah, all the waffle that just happened in the last 2 minutes got us over that.
That you definitely won't cut much off.
No.
Because it's all so very valuable. Much like this sentence.
Indeed.
Which isn't going anywhere in particular.
No, but it's valuable just to pad out the conversation. Now, I believe, just getting back to our last segue, musical segue, it is actually your turn.
It is, yes.
To select a film for next week. And have you decided how you're going to determine what we're watching next week?
I'm going to close my eyes and just sort of wave around in thin air.
Oh, I wish this was a vlog rather than
and not find anything, because it is just thin air. And then I'm going to open my eyes.
You don't want to see what Stan is suggesting that we watch next?
No, not really.
No.
And so I'm going to open my eyes and
have you shaken?
And shake my iPad.
Yes. And shake it again, because he doesn't like what it came up with.
Okay, let's see. Okay, this film is from 2005.
Was I alive then?
Yes.
Okay.
I was also alive then.
Only just. Well.
It had been a bit.
Yeah. Would you have been allowed to watch this film at the age you were when this came out?
At the age of 6?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so it's not Thomas the Tank Engine, the movie?
No.
Right, okay.
No, that's not on my list.
Oh.
Strike that off. It's not there.
All right.
It stars Ewan McGregor.
Right.
And Scarlett Johansson.
Right.
It's a Michael Bay film.
Oh my goodness. Seriously? Michael Bay. There's going to be lots of explosions.
Dunno.
Have I seen it?
Well, presumably you have, because it's on the shelf and we didn't cover it in our previous podcast.
I'm showing severe ignorance here.
It runs for 2 hours and 16 minutes.
What did you put a film that long onto a list? Scarlett Johansson and Ewan McGregor. Everyone's screaming out because they all know. I don't know.
Okay,
right.
I'm going to move on to the description of the film.
All right.
Lincoln 6 Echo is running for his life. A life he knows little about, except for two things.
Okay.
One.
Have you seen it?
I've not.
Okay.
No.
Sorry. You start again. I know what it is. Do you want me to say what it is before you read it?
No, I'm going to keep going.
Okay.
It'll get to it eventually.
I hope I land on it soon. Sorry.
1. Authorities at the tightly controlled facility that sheltered him said he would someday live in the paradise that is Earth's last inhabitable place. 2. It was all a lie. Ewan McGregor is Lincoln 6 Echo, and Scarlett Johansson is Jordan 2 Delta, scrambling to elude deadly pursuers in an outside world they've never before experienced. Michael Bay directs, delivering high-tech excitement as he peels back layers of mystery surrounding the fugitives. The sights dazzle. The pace thrills. The story set in 2019. Probes a jolting, palpably real future shock. You've been chosen. The island awaits you. That's The Island, next week on Cellulose Free.
So many conflicting emotions are going through my head right now. First, I'm still not surprised that I didn't get it, because I've sort of blocked that film from my mind. No. And look, I will not. I am looking forward to watching this again. Let me put it that way. But I've never linked either of those characters, even though they star in it, to that film. I've never linked Michael Bay to this film. There's so much of a disconnect in my brain concerning this film, and it could be an interesting ride. So The Island is what we're watching. No, you wouldn't have been allowed to watch it when you were 6.
It's rated M for moderate violence, infrequent coarse language, and mature theme.
Theme. Mature theme.
Not themes.
No, just a theme.
That controversial word that everybody who submits to classification reviews loves to hate.
Yes.
Theme. Singular.
Yes. When I was scanning the back covers, there are things also that need filling in for a lot of these DVDs, information, including what the classification of the film and why, if it's written, did it get that classification. So I have typed theme a number of times today. I didn't enter the descriptions, so they're still blank, waiting to be filled. But yeah, I certainly wrote science fiction themes. And
the problem with themes, and I agree with its detractors, which there are many of, is that it's nebulous.
Yes.
It's so broad and doesn't mean anything.
Yes.
And yet could mean anything.
I'm sure that one of the ones that I typed in contained coarse language and themes. Or something like that. There was...
coarse themes.
Oh, did it mean that?
It's like sandpaper. These themes will rub you down.
I don't remember it completely, but I knew that themes was sort of sitting there on its own without a particular connect. I don't think it was coarse. I don't think it was... Anyway, yes.
It doesn't mean anything.
So again, what did it get the classification of M for?
Moderate violence, infrequent coarse language, mature theme.
Mature theme, right? Singular.
And
it's
no
just a singular theme.
No and in there.
Right. The Island.
With
Ewan McGregor, Scarlett Johansson. We're going to watch it next week. We hope that you can join us. Do you hope they can? Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. But until then, we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
You have been listening to Cellulose Free. Your hosts were Colin, who produces and edits the show, and Thomas, who makes the artwork and music. Cellulose Free is recorded in the Deranged Cat Studios in scenic Tasmania, Australia. We keep track of our extensive physical media collection through My Movies, which we highly recommend. You can find links to that, as well as other places you can find us, in the show notes. Cellulose Free is a Hi Hello production.
There, okay, we've got the half hour.
Yeah, of course I hope they tune in. I like seeing numbers go up.
Yeah.
Which isn't happening in baseball because winning is causing people to lose wins.
Right.
Wins are worth negative now.
Yep.
So
Yep.
so people who are winning are doing worse.
Yep. Yep. Well, I do like seeing, not necessarily. Look, I'm not here for the numbers, the listening numbers, but it is nice to notice a like on Twitter from one of your friends, and when a new podcast goes up, or a comment on Facebook.
Friends and or people who know about me.
That's right. Yeah, it's good. Good. All right, Kat, can you hit the stop button? Can you hit the stop button?
If you've listened this far, mention an avocado somewhere. Yell avocado from the top of the highest hill, and I won't hear it or know that you've done it.
But you will. And the world will rejoice with you. Here, avocado.